Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It's another week of soccer down here. John here, you there. Full roster hanging out. And, yep, it's a Reaction Monday. We know why it's a Reaction Monday. We always call it over, under, or on par. Lay it all out there. We got time. We got space. That's what we're doing. Abe Gordon is choosing to only look forward. So he's going to talk about Charlotte Independence and Open Cup coming up at 9:15. Anything else on Gabe's mind? Bart Keeler's back at 10 o'clock. The real world has decided that they know what is important for Bart in his daily rundown on Monday. It is being here on the show. Bart's back at 10. Drew would be here at 10:30, but he's waiting for a tow truck on the side of the road. And I have asked that Drew, please, if you would, keep us posted and make sure that everything is okay, when it comes to what is going on with you and the side of the road. But first, we got to go here. And, news ain't good. Just in time for Abe Gordon to join us at 9:15. Atlanta United announced today Tyler Wolff expected to miss a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks after suffering an MCL strain in his right knee. Wolff will not require surgery, and his rehabilitation process will determine his recovery timeline. So we all saw Tyler with the injury. Now we know officially what it is. So it is a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks after suffering an MCL strain in the right knee. So when it comes to strain versus sprain versus tear or what have you. So I'm looking this up. I'm getting the official difference when it comes to how to differentiate one to the other. Now, the MCL along the inner edge of the knee. Now, I always say that that's what keeps you stable and works properly when you move. So once again, MCL, inner side of the knee, connects the thigh bone to the shin bone, connects the femur to the tibia. And so that's where that particular is. A tear versus a sprain, injury to the knee ligament, tear or a sprain. The term sprain is used when a ligament is stretched or torn. Many knee sprains are mild. Once again, this is courtesy of our friends at WebMD. Many knee sprains are mild. A torn MCL can range from mild to severe. A complete tear is severe. And so sprain, it goes into tear symptoms and diagnoses and things like that, tears and treatments and things. So Tyler Wolff out minimum 4 to 6. But once again, it could be, could be less depending on rehabilitation and such. But out 4 to 6 with a sprain in the MCL. Doctor or physical therapist may give you exercises to help recover, focusing on restoring mobility and knee strength. You can work on your quads, your hamstrings, your abductor, your outer thigh, your adductor, the inner thigh, or your glutes. MCL rehab exercises 2 to 3 days for 4 to 6 weeks. You can choose to continue doing the exercise to maintain strength and flexibility. And then they give you a list. So there you go. Tyler Wolff and an MCL sprain. So Tyler is out for at least 4 to 6. And once again, as we always sit here and say, it depends on the body and how it responds as to what it's going to look like on the return. So I think now you focus on Luke Brennan and Nick Firmino being added to the mix. As if the news couldn't be any more out there. So Tyler Wolff out at least 4 weeks, 4 to 6 is what the initial diagnosis is. But the team is saying, obviously, that when it comes to any kind of rehabilitation and how that progresses, that's what you're staring at when it comes to the return of Tyler Wolff. But I think now that once again, I think you're still looking at. I think you're still looking at Luke Brennan. I think you're looking at. You're looking at Nick Firmino. You're looking at the health of Shande Silva. And you're looking possibly once again on the idea of maybe flipping Saba to the left. So Saba to the left and then Luke on the right. Luke and Mosqueda, some combination of that. But that's the early news this morning that we got. And then literally it came out at like 9:05. So out of the blocks, Tyler Wolff out 4 to 6 weeks. And so Abe Gordon will be joining us in a handful of minutes, and he'll be discussing what's on his mind. Obviously, we've got to discuss Tyler Wolff, considering that it is breaking news. But as we always say, like I said, Reaction Mondays are Reaction Mondays. And you can put it in the timeline, get it off your chest, because the last thing I want is to have folks with stuff that is still hanging there. Everything that was on the weekend, everything that was on your mind, get it out. So that way we can all, as I suggested on the 280 character app, I thought that Abe might boycott, but Abe has basically said, nope, looking forward. And so because Abe is looking forward, that's what I want to have with the Twitch pitch on Mondays. I want everybody to sit there and just, it's like, get it off your chest. Go ahead and lay it all out there. And if we're having conversations, meaning you and the y'all and the collective and me, or the us, get it out there. I'm not going to waste any time. Abe has come in. He is, I'm guessing Abe is properly hydrating. So that'll be the first question. So we'll bring Abe in 3 minutes early. Oh, no, 3 minutes early. Abe, once again, on the Tom Coughlin clock, as you always are. If you are 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, the door is closed and you can't come into the meeting. I see how this works. Are you properly hydrating, sir?
We got the jug here. We're ready to roll. Probably not going to run today with the dog. I might run solo, but it's getting a bit warm for her. So, we're making sure the legs don't cramp up. We're feeling good.
Yeah. So, and I'm also anticipating the alarm at 9:31. If we go past 9:30, that the alarm will sit there and it'll be like, nope, got to go. I know how this works. Trust me. News came out as we kicked off the show this morning. Tyler Wolff out a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks, an MCL sprain. That is official from the club. As if things couldn't get any worse, you end up with adding somebody else to the injury list. Hi, Abe. How's your Monday?
Yeah, it was funny because we were at the game there, and I saw the way he was moving, and I didn't see it happen. I didn't see it, but you could tell at one point trying to retreat defensively, at one point trying to get back involved into the attack. It just wasn't there, and you knew something was wrong, something that was not a turned ankle or something like that. So very unfortunate to hear that, especially with this match tomorrow night against the Charlotte Independents. Certainly would have been an opportunity for Tyler Wolff to maybe open some eyes, I guess. But that won't be taking place. I mean, look, we can talk about the injuries and how they've impacted the season, but quite frankly, the last couple of weeks, the last couple of disappointments, you've had the guys that you needed to have on the field, and the goals, quite frankly, still haven't come. And that's really what it's boiled down to. Is you compare your season's XG, which I fully wholeheartedly comment on is a wildly unperfect stat. But they are not turning themselves into goals. And that is the biggest issue. And then you look on the other side, what's the biggest issue defensively? Bad turnovers, big mistakes, they happen, but you are specifically getting pinched by them right now. And it's not a situation, it seems, where these bad mistakes are going unpunished. You are getting punished every time you have a significant mistake out of your own third. And that is the biggest issue right now. Not that you're making them, but that you're getting punished for them every single time. And those have been the differences in the games over the past month and change. And it's unfortunate. We talked about it ahead of the game Saturday night. Like, this is the low point in the season. Like, you've got to do something to turn it around. You're at home. It's a very difficult team to beat. It's a quality side of Minnesota, but low point of the season, don't let this point get lower. And unfortunately, that's what happened on Saturday.
But now, once again, and I'm going to use your tenet. You want to look forward. It's an opportunity here Tuesday, going up against Charlotte Independence, to have some rotation, start some younger guys, see some younger guys that might be wanting to dive in and get playing time.
Well, originally I was looking forward to that, but honestly, the position of the team right now, they can't afford to be bounced. They need to just see a victory, and I don't really care who it's against. And you do start to wonder if maybe the side that you start tomorrow night is a little bit stronger than we had anticipated. Obviously, you talk about the injury to Tyler Wolf. Does that mean someone else gets in there? We did see Steon Gregerson just for a little bit. Do you want to get him a little bit of more run from the get-go? But this team needs to see a win. This team needs to see some goals put in the back of the net. And so, yes, I am excited about the potential of seeing a couple of these younger guys, the future of Atlanta United in various positions. But at the same time, boy, I wouldn't be surprised if they really load the lineup quite a bit, even with another weekend and midweek match on the way, which you do have to take into consideration. And look, maybe the plan is try and race out to a significant lead and your guys only play 45 minutes, and then you make some of the subs that you expect. But this team really needs a win. And I don't care if it's in MLS play. I don't care if it's in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't care if it's against a quote-unquote lesser side. And I don't care really what players bring it to you. If it is the young players that can deliver that, great. If you need a couple of the more senior, veteran, experienced guys, then so be it. But they have got to get it turned around, even if it's a midweek match at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Something has to go in the right direction. And you'd like to see that Tuesday. And certainly, if not Tuesday, it better come on the weekend, because there are some very serious discussions that are starting to potentially be had.
Yeah, well, and that's what I want to do on Mondays with our friends in the Twitch pitch. I want them to have the discussion as a part of our show, and it is a crammed week. I mean, it literally is. It's 3 matches in a week for the first team. You add in the second team match. The twos are playing Wednesday at Kennesaw against Carolina Core, and so if you are Atlanta United, and I mean that in the collective, you have a match on a Saturday night. You have an Open Cup match on a Tuesday. You've got another first team match a week from that first match, and you're having to reinsert players into the lineup who are coming off of injury. Steon Gregerson, you mentioned that. And so Gregerson comes in for a cup of coffee on the weekend. Do we see Gregerson Tuesday? Give him more minutes coming off the bench to get him ready for a start on Saturday. And this is the part where you're having to figure out your minutes. This is where you get out your compass and your protractor and your calculator, and it's like, okay, the physios come in real important here with everybody coming off injuries, making sure that you've got first choice, and making sure that it's this whole knock-on effect here. It's like one domino leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and everybody, the physios, the coaching staff, everybody's having to sit here and figure out, okay, A plus B equals C, and how do we get there?
Well, and you also got to consider that it's not a friendly, and you do have limited substitutions in that match on Tuesday. It's not wholesale changes like we would see in the preseason where you say, all right, I want to get Gregerson 45 minutes. Well, that substitution costs you, right? Because that's one less that you have throughout the rest of the half. And I'll be quite honest, I didn't think we were going to see Steon Gregerson in the second half there. Maybe the fact that you were down 2 goals kind of played into that a little bit, and you thought you can get him some run. But I thought for sure you were like, all right, well, if he's not going to come in and start today, even limited, like Tuesday looks like a great opportunity to get him maybe a half of play with the idea that obviously you don't want to overdo it with another match a couple days later. So I still would be a little surprised if we don't see Gregerson out of this lineup. But yeah, I mean, it's a couple of things you're trying to weigh, right? And that's what you're dealing with all these midweek games, but more specifically the U.S. Open midweek game is, all right, we got to have our guys fresh. We have to be as ready and available as we can for Saturday for an MLS game. but we also want to get some guys some run. We also want to find a way to win and advance. And again, quite frankly, some of these lineup decisions come down to the point where at this point, and I know it sounds weird, we talk about it with like 3-point shooters in the NBA. They just need to see one go in.
Yep.
Like it's kind of like that where I mean, we just need to see a win. We just need to see 3 points. And so if you have to start a lineup that's a little bit stronger than maybe you would have if you've, just run the table in the month of April and went 4 wins and a draw or something like that, maybe you take a little bit less notice about what happens in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know if you can afford that right now. You cannot let the tailspin or slide continue.
Jarrett Smith joins. Jarrett joins me and Abe here to kick off things on a Reaction Monday. Go for it, Jarrett.
Oh, I don't even know what you've already discussed. I'm assuming it was mostly.
Actually, more than anything, we discussed Tyler Wolff.
Yeah, one of the things that stuck out to me with Wolff was a couple of games ago was the Chicago game where we were watching in the studio, and he fires a shot that he doesn't get a hold of cleanly. And Tristan Miyabad just tapping him on the head, and you can see. I feel like you can see that Wolff is pressing, and you can also see that they want him to succeed. Like the guys around him want him to succeed. And so it sucks that this has happened now. It's 4 to 6 weeks out. It was about this time last year that he started flipping a switch. So maybe he comes back from that. He's able to clear his head, able to just kind of run to the flow of the game and contribute when he gets back. What you do until then, though, man, this was a deep winger room at the start of the year. It's underachieved on the left-hand side, and it got thin really quickly. It's got to be Luke Brennan's season, at least partially, right?
I would think.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly what we're waiting to find out, and we'll see if, it feels like this would have been a perfect opportunity Tuesday to see him flash, right? And then if he does that, it's a lot easier sell to the Atlanta United fan. Well, did you see what he did Tuesday? Let's give him a go with the first team. But it's also a situation where you've just dealt with this in your center backs, and you've had a pair of young guys come in and really step up to the moment, right? Noah Cobb first, and then I know it was only one outing, but Efrain Morales after that. I mean, you've had 2 guys really take hold of the opportunities given to them. They did not shrink from the MLS opportunities. And yes, the fact that they had to take a step back down in the case of Efrain Morales as Gregerson comes back in, understandable. But you do start to wonder if when you see those young guys step up and perform the way they did, does that provide more opportunities for other guys who you might see more of with the 2s than with the 1s? And if they do perform at that level. So I'm with you, Jarrett. Like, I mean, right now with Wolff out, we're still waiting on what's going on with Xande Silva. Like, it's kind of just Edwin Mosquera right now on one of the wings opposite Saba. Like, yeah, like if Brendan comes out and does some things on Tuesday night, why not? I mean, why not give him a go and put him in there? It's unlikely you're going to get worse production than what you've done. I mean, you can only go up based on the production on the left side, or I know you switch Saba and the right side, whatever side you want it to be that's opposite Saba. It has to get better. And if trying someone new, especially if they're able to flash tomorrow night, I think we're all open for it, because there's still this feeling about the United offense in general. And some of it's just specifically the final touch, the final moment. Some of it is a little bit of unluckiness with a couple of outstanding saves really over their course. It wasn't just, we saw Alec Can had a couple of really good saves. We saw, I'm totally blanking, Brady, whoever it was,
Brady.
had a couple of really good saves. And then even last time out on Yakimakis' header, a really good save. And so there are moments there where you're very, very close. And for whatever reason, Almada hits the crossbar on a hot volley. It just anything to switch things up. But you got to get the goals coming first, because the differentiation between your XG and your actual G, you can see the moments are there. You can see they are being dangerous. But in the end, the tally is not being counted, and that's what ultimately matters.
And we're going to have to keep XG and AG. I actually like that idea for a statistic for actual goals when it comes to what we're seeing. I mean, and you look at what happened. GG hit the post late. You had the early return from Mosqueda looking to Saba looking to volley it in. I want to say like in the 9th minute. And so it's like there's something there, and then you hit a post, and then you get the runs. And we saw early on the philosophy was sound about widening out the jaws of life that Minnesota had, where basically it was a line of 5 and a line of 4, and it's like, okay, how do we attack this? You go wide. You had 85% of the possession down each wing, and I think at one point you had 61% down the right, the attacking right for Atlanta United. So philosophy was sound, but it's like, I think that to your point, at times you look at it like that shooter. It's like if the guy's not hitting the jumper, you keep feeding him, and then when he hits that first one, and I'm hoping that this is the case for the DPs and Saba specifically because of recency, Saba gets that one in the back of the net. You're hoping that's what gives him the impetus to go forward now.
Well, the interesting thing over the course of the season, right, like we go back to the preseason and we go back to the expectations, which they are very clearly not meeting right now. And the discussion was, all right, like what is the defense going to look like? Because there's the opportunity for this to be one of the best offensive teams in the MLS. And that has really been the flip side. I think the defense, you look at the statistics, you look at the injuries they've had to deal with, you look at the level of performance of Brad Guzan, which was mildly unexpected as well. The defense is one of the best in the MLS. The defense is keeping you in these games, and it's the offense is lacking. And you look, we can talk about this with the Atlanta Braves right now and how their offense is not coming through. The point of it is we still feel, I at least still feel when things get right up top for Atlanta United, when the Braves offense gets going, right, they're going to be able to go on some runs because this defense is so strong, because this pitching staff is so strong. Like you can see the correlations where I'm headed. When Ronald Acuna starts hitting home runs the same way when Giakoumakis starts putting the ball in the back of the net, it's going to click. And so I'll cut the Braves out of this for now. But I think the idea of we were going to rely on the offense, that's not happening. Giakoumakis and Almada and Saba, and look, they're all playing well, but the goals aren't coming. It's been the defense. And so now if you can maintain that level of defense and welcome the offense back into the play, it still feels like you could go on a run. It still feels like games are there to be had and streaks are there to be had. But at 3-4-3 right now on the season through 10 games in the MLS, it's simply not enough. But again, oddly enough, not for the reasons we thought they would be struggling.
Yeah, and you also have a match in hand, and if you win that match in hand, and all things being equal, you'd be, I think, 4th or 5th right now in the Eastern Conference, and we know that the Eastern Conference is going to be, as Jarrett calls it, a knife fight in a phone booth, and Nick calls it a knife fight in a phone booth, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a knife fight in a phone booth all season long when it comes to the Eastern Conference. So, like I said, you could have a good week, and you could end up with. If you win a double match week, you get 6 points, you rocket up the table. Same thing happens if you go 0 for 2 in a cramped match week, and you can go from 3rd to 9th or 10th or whatever. That's just how the Eastern Conference is going to be this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, the biggest aspect of this that I think is kind of messing with everyone's heads is that it's happened at home.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the other aspect of this is you had the opportunities, and if you drop those on the road, we sit back and say, well, it's tough to win road games. Other teams are dealing with that, but at least we can preserve home field. I think it's now we've entered into, well, it's tough to win on the road. How are they going to get points back there when they continue to drop them at home? And so that's the thing is you've now put yourself in a position because it's now 3 consecutive games at home in which you've dropped points one way or another, either by loss or by draw. And it's now put you in a situation, like you mentioned, John, where like, all right, so you beat DC United at home on Saturday. That would be great. You kind of have to follow that up midweek at Cincinnati and try and find points there, which is obviously going to be very tough, but you're right. Like if you can string, especially with these midweek games, if you can string 6 points in a span of 4 or 5 days, you can get back to where we believe they need to be, should be, are eventually going to be. But the fact that it now also has to come on the road, you can't necessarily rely on, all right, we'll take a draw on the road. We know we're getting 3 on the weekend back at the Benz. That's a tough mentality to approach as a fan.
All right. So what are the plans? I know that after 9:30, you're set to take somebody out for a WALK, but what's the rest of the plan for you this week in coverage at 92.9?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading on the Charlotte Independents, and a very interesting squad that seems like they're rounding into form a little bit. I know some of our Tormenta fans are going to be more familiar with them as well. Recent match in the Jägermeister Cup. But they got some real talent. Like, this is not a group that you look at and say, well, just a lower side, don't be fearful. No, they got some premiership talent. They got a number of local guys here from the Atlanta area to keep an eye on. And they are incredibly dangerous, as has already been shown twice, if they get to a shootout in this U.S. Open Cup. And so you have got to avoid that situation because their goalie who is here from the Atlanta area, Austin Pack, has 5 saves in 2 shootouts. And so go ahead and get things done. We are going to be on the air pregame, postgame, obviously coverage of the game. They're up in Kennesaw, and then obviously running it back over the weekend against DC United. So a lot of soccer coming your way this week here in Atlanta. So pretty pumped for it.
Very, very busy week, and Abe will get his first taste of action at the Fraction coming up on Tuesday. As always, my friend, as I was waiting for the alarm. I was waiting for it. I was trying to filibuster to get the in-house alarm for you at 9:30. But
we took her for a walk just before this time, so I think she's put down for a couple of minutes. But I'm sure as soon as we sign out, as soon as I try and lay down myself, she'll be right in my face.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. We will see you up at the Fraction tomorrow, and we will catch up with you down the line. Don't ever be afraid to hop in.
Look forward to it, guys. Have a good show.
That's Abe, and that's Abe. He's properly hydrated. He's going to go take a nap. And so that means one thing. It's 9:32, and we have filibustered to a point, and we have long awaited. The masses have wondered aloud at various volumes and VU meters when there would be a return.
Is he the third man? He's the third man.
So who is the third man? It's Nick. Welcome back.
I was waiting for you to obliterate that like Bobby the Brain Heenan did. Because if you go back and listen to it, Bobby
is he the third man?
Bobby destroys that entire moment in hindsight because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Hi, Nick.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of deep background, but yeah.
All right, yeah, well, I have a new MacBook and my old microphone doesn't work with it. So, yeah.
Hi. Where the hell have you been?
Well, let's see. I spent most of, what was it? Most of April, March, was it on the road? Yeah, cross country, flew to Los Angeles to Oakland, then up to Redwoods, then to Oregon, then Seattle, flew from Seattle to DC, shot in DC, then Albany, Georgia, from Albany, Georgia back to Atlanta, then Miami to New York back to Atlanta. Then I took my daughter to Harry Potter World, then got home. Literally the next day was on a plane to San Diego, shot in San Diego, came back, and I had to prepare for a video. I was commissioned for a video art installation for Frank Ski's wine tasting, which happened last night. So my video was running on these massive walls, and Senator Raphael Warnock comes walking in. Jeezy's there. So it was a really cool night, but essentially my brain is scrambled eggs now because it has had like zero sustained downtime. So yeah.
I mean, Color was shocked that that would ever happen.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So my audio issues aside,
how you doing?
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot that we want to talk about.
Yeah, considering that I don't think I think this is your first trip during the regular season for Atlanta United that we've actually had the chance to sit down and have a bit of a coffee clutch with you, sir. So now that we are 10 matches in, not quite to the turn one of the tricky triangle here at Pocono, what's been running through your mind?
I think there's problems in Dreamland, obviously. So part of the travels have meant that I haven't been able to get to as many games as humanly possible. But the games that when being on the road, I have been able to watch the games, and so it's been interesting to see how things have broken down here for our favorite stripes. But I think it's twofold. One is a manager's job is to get you from 18 to 18. Now, your philosophy as a manager, it depends on how you're working at. So either if you're an attacking mindset, is that we are able to attack from 18 to 18. Once the ball gets to the 18, we are paying you a lot of money to put the ball in the back of the net as a player. So my first question is always, are we getting to the 18, the opponent's 18, with regularity? The answer is yes. So those tactics are working, right? The manager's tactics are working. The people who are paid a lot of money to put the ball in the back of the net need to come through on their end of the deal. The backside of that is, do your tactics allow you to defend easily in moments of transition? And I think this is where we're getting into some trouble because part of that's on the players and part of that's on the manager. For some reason, when we pass backwards, we develop concrete feet and we're chipping the ball in the air, which means that passes that should be a pretty certain completion instead now become not certain to be completed. And your 6 and 8 now have to get into dead sprints to try to cover gaps, which our opponents are exploiting. One issue where I say it does fall on management is that we keep playing teams that are playing in suboptimal conditions with suboptimal conditions. They have player injuries. There's not, designated players on the field, whatever it is for the opponent. And they're still able to survive that and thrive. And we don't seem to be able to do that. I want Gonzalo to work it out. I don't want anyone to say, oh, well, Nick's a big fan of the manager. Yes, I am a big fan of the manager. I've met the man. He is a kind and decent person. And I think that says a lot. Mm-hmm. But this is a results business, and nobody's renewing their season tickets because the manager's a kind and decent man. They want wins. So if the players are not going to pick up their end of the bargain, the responsibility is going to fall on the manager, right or wrong. And I think we're getting ourselves to a point where Gonzalo may be out the door. And my question is going to be, it's the old Phil Fulmer question. Tennessee fans wanted Phil Fulmer gone for God knows how long. And then, okay, great. Who are you going to bring in? Well, bring in anyone.
Bring in Derek Dooley.
That's not an answer. Who are you going to bring in? And so I just think there's a major issue right now where players are not, and this can be because of the manager. It can be because of, some issues with players. I don't know. I'm not in that locker room, but it feels like something's off significantly. And I think that has to be sorted. And with that, because I'm not going to buy into Alex Pacine's belief that I'm going to go on a 10-minute rant. But I think that, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the manager, no matter whose fault it is. So if you want to go read Sun Tzu's Art of War and talk about leadership in that perspective, by all means, feel free. But I'm just telling you, right or wrong, players or manager, I think Gonzalo is going to pay the price here before too long if things don't turn around. And I don't think he's getting renewed really either way. I think his contract's going to be allowed to just expire, and he's going to go back to Seattle. And here's a prediction. I think he's going to go back to Seattle. I think he's going to work under Schmetzer. and I think Schmetzer's going to retire, and Gonzalo is going to have all of this stuff worked out, and I think he's going to turn Seattle into a monster. And I will point this out because I'm fair. There were a lot of people who went after this show and after the people on this show religiously. Like, they woke up in the morning and chose violence every day against us when we were defending Frank DeBoer. He's DeBoering. We are not attacking enough. Everything's boring. And now I'm seeing on social media, well, Frank, just bring back Frank. We know why can't we were defending before. What happened? Why we get away from this? We should have just kept Frank. Everybody wanted to run Frank out of town. All right, and we said be patient, and then the pandemic. Joseph's knee gets implodes like a freaking neutron star, and suddenly it's freaking the wheels go off, right? All I'm saying is that when Gonzalo goes back up to Seattle and turns that thing into a monster, the same people who want to run him out of town now, all I'm saying is just know what we got ourselves into here. That being said, Gonzalo must fix what's happening here. Gonzalo must. And I don't care if it means benching people who are very highly paid. I don't care if it means pissing people off. It's time to do that. And this is his job on the line. The relationships are out the window. And this is part of the learning management. It's not just tactics. It's also man management and being like, all right, if my job's on the line, your job's on the line. So if you're screwing up on the wing, congratulations, you're getting your ass put on the bench, and you're probably not going to see daylight for a long time until you get sorted. I want to see how that works out.
10 minutes.
Well, damn it, Alex Basine. God.
So, first time back, Jarrett. Nick put all that on the floor. Good and happy reaction Monday. Welcome back.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about it before. It's a results-based business.
Yeah,
and
you're
not getting results right now.
It is.
The weird thing about all of this, and I kept thinking about watching the second half Saturday night, just like in frustration, was think back to where we were about the 50th minute in the Philadelphia game where you had a 2-0 lead. You're feeling good. And Edwin makes the right decision playing that ball back. Like, you're just getting it out of trouble. Ever since then, it's like something is broken in everybody's collective brains. Like they had to hang on against Philadelphia. They hit the post. But you've been hitting a lot of posts lately. The Cincinnati game, you get the goal, and then your players make what's called a dumb decision to play a short-ass corner in that situation where you just subbed on 3 guys. You had just made 3 changes. You're not structured. You're not in shape. You're on an attacking corner, and you just put on 2 of those guys are basically monolith human beings and set-piece targets. And then you played a short corner without proper communication and then played the ball incorrectly and then triggered a goal going the other way. You were not as pragmatic as you needed to be in that moment. The Chicago game is frustrating because you were better than Chicago. And even then, it still took you moments. It still felt like there were moments where you were like apprehensive. Like, watching them in the second half, the beginning of the second half of that game is almost like it's almost like if you've ever seen, Nick will probably know this. There's a brilliant Ridley Scott movie called The Duelist from the 1970s, which is one of the best depictions of sword play that you will ever see put to film, because it's not water dancing with swords. It's watching them duel. It looks like 2 people who don't want to be stabbed. There's apprehension in the way they move. I highly recommend that movie. But it felt like that with Atlanta and Chicago, like 2 teams who felt like they didn't want to get stabbed. And then Atlanta finally woke up in that second half. It's like, we can We can push these guys around. And then you did, but you didn't get anything at the end. And then you have the Minnesota game where, like, man, I don't know. I don't even know, because one of the things I've noticed recently is I feel like we're getting more frustration out of Gonzalo Pineda in the postgame. He's always going to be the guy to absorb the blame but deflect the credit. That's kind of that's the thing that coaches do.
Yeah, and you're not going to call out your players publicly. That's
no,
not
he's not. But it's getting more. I don't know where people got the idea of him always, blaming the players for everything. He generally absorbs the blame. But the last 2 games, I felt like we've gotten more of, we had a plan, we've reviewed this, it wasn't executed, which is a different thing than saying, hey, that guy screwed up. But you were getting more of that. For the Minnesota one, for instance, where he talked about it during the game, or during the post game, excuse me, of the throw that leads to a corner, that leads to a goal, where he mentions, they've scored 3 goals this year off taking those quick throws. We knew this. We had looked at this, and it's to me personally, the implication was a bit of, we had talked about this, and guys still fell asleep. And I don't think we went over it this week. I don't. The tone kind of to me was of a I don't know what else to tell them, because we went over this and they didn't execute it. Now, he's not going to call guys out directly for it, but it really felt like there was frustration there, and I think he is feeling that frustration because it's a results-based business. Because if guys don't convert, if there are continued issues, the players, you're not going to just cancel the contract. You can't.
No.
But you can fire the manager.
Yeah.
And if you want, what I personally think is one of the more frustrating issues that they cannot seem to fix, and I don't know who it falls on, because I'm not in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's the fact that this team starts so slowly. We've talked in the past 4 or 5 games about, hey, they should get a quick start in this game. It would behoove them to get an early goal and to put the opponent under pressure. And they haven't. I mean, they've been really good at getting goals at the end of games, at the end of halves. Great. It's great to go into the locker room with something positive on your belt, but you have got to find a way to start games better, and to start games and get something for all of that. And some of that comes down to finishing, guys finishing or failing to finish. You have to find a way to get something out of it.
And even you mentioned starting games, starting halves, where Gonzo mentioned post-match at halftime, come out and be strong in that first 10 to 15 minutes in the matchup against Minnesota. They weren't, and you end up seeing the results. And I know that this is something that adds to that in the let me go back here. So it was 2 goals in 4 minutes for Philadelphia. It was 2 goals in basically 3 minutes, Oriano and Lucho Acosta for Cincinnati. And then it was 2 goals in 6 minutes for Minnesota. And so when they happen in bunches. And, Nick, we mentioned all these things. You've got to come out strong in the half. Gonzo mentioned in post-match that he reminded the guys, you've got to come out strong. And you can go to SofaScore, and what SofaScore will do is they will give you like a momentum chart for offensive control, and you'll see for the most of the first half against Minnesota. Let me go back and register the attack momentum is what they call it. There were literally 3, I'll say 3 with a bit of a blip in the first half, 3 moments for Minnesota. Most of it was Atlanta United, specifically from, say, and I wish that they could tell you what minute this is, but say from the quarter pole, say the mid-20s, pretty much to the half, it was mostly Atlanta United. Then you go and look at attack momentum in the second half, and for the first 15 minutes, if not the first 20, it's all Minnesota, and that's when they score their 2 goals. That whole thing coming out at 45, getting to 60, That's all Minnesota. And then for the rest of the match, obviously with a 2-goal lead, Minnesota is going to sit there and make sure that they can catch anybody coming out of the Laredo garage, and they'll put 13 behind the ball, and that's what they did. And you'll see attack momentum for that final 30 minutes is all Atlanta United, but that's because they're sitting on it.
And that's the thing, man. Like that's one of the things that I wanted to address about it, because I know the XG was really weighted. And I know Mike said it on the broadcast, and I agree with him. Atlanta did not outplay Minnesota. You have to focus on game state in situations like this. Like we say, goals change games. You have to look at game state. The first half had back and forth moments where it wasn't great. You were really dangerous you started out well, then you weren't. You're sloppy in those build-up moments, and then you're good at the end of the first half, which you've been great at the end of halves this year. That's fine, but you don't get a goal early in the second half. You give up that throw because I don't know why you don't switch on there when you know it's coming. It's the same. It's a similar situation to me that I go back to. And sorry, Alex, I'm gonna make fun of your Gators here. 2021, I think 2022, LSU Florida.
Yeah.
Ty Davis Price sets the LSU single game rushing record for like 300 something yards. LSU ran the same zone duo play like 40 times in that game. They ran the same play over and over and over. They had put it on tape before that too.
If you ain't stopping it, why stop running?
Well, my point, what I'm getting to here is, if you have something on tape, then you need to prepare for it. Minnesota had shown you on tape that they will take that quick throw and they will be dangerous with it. I can spend all week preparing you for it, but you have to do it in the moment. And if you can't do it, that is a bigger problem that I've got to deal with. Now, Amelia, I'm not benching anybody for hitting the post. But only positive I took out of Saturday night was that Saba put a goal away, and hopefully now he'll get out of his own head, because I think Saba was pressing pretty damn hard. Going back to the Philly game where he hits the post after Mosquera tries to end the man's life, where I think he's been pressing, and hopefully that will help him loosen up, and Saba will do more early season Saba things. I don't get the Saba hate right now. I think everybody's just angry and just directing their anger at everybody, and Saba is catching some of that. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's just me. It is what it is.
I don't understand Saba venom at all. These guys working his ass off. I don't. I mean,
he is, and hopefully that goal will loosen him up a bit. That's literally all I can hope for, is that goal loosens him up. But you give up that goal. Yeah, Wiley's passed to William Boz left short. Wiley's still a kid. He's going to make mistakes. Young players are going to make more mistakes. Even when they have a bunch of games under the belt, they're younger. They're going to make mistakes. If we run Luke Brennan out there, he's going to have moments where it's bad.
Yeah.
He's a kid. Jay Fortune is going to make mistakes. He's a kid. You play the kids and you let them grow from those mistakes, but they're going to make mistakes. Those 2 goals change the flow of that game. Minnesota's going to sit deeper. You go for it. You had 2 strikers on the field. You put Rios on the field at that point. You're playing with 2 up top. So, yes, Atlanta's going to generate more XG. They're going to generate more chances. They're going to generate more possession, more leverage in the last 30 minutes of that game. But it's because of the game state. It's because you're in a 2-0 hole. So when we talk about Atlanta being better in the last 30 minutes and that game shifting in their favor, it's because of the state of the game. It's because Minnesota had found 2 goals. And Minnesota was able to sit deeper and let you do that because they were comfortable being that kind of team in that moment. And they gave you that opportunity to press into them. Now, they gave up a goal where you get a good flick on from Giacomakis, who Giacomakis, again, is another guy who I think a goal would do wonders for, because he is working his ass off. He almost hits a half volley in this game and then drops to his knees looking to God for answers, but God stays up there because as the great quote goes, do you ever wonder if God stays in heaven because he's afraid of what he's created? So he was looking to the sky trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah.
But the state of that game is that you gave up 2 goals quickly, and Minnesota was fine letting you control it. They were comfortable in that situation. Teams are approaching these things differently in the sense that when Atlanta has a lead, Atlanta wants more goals. Gonzalo Pineda's talked about before. It is almost Bielsa-like in the the best way to protect leads is to just make them even more insurmountable as you go. He won't generally shut down shop till like the 85th minute. Whereas Minnesota was comfortable in sitting and just being more absorbent to the pressure that Atlanta was generating. So I want to make that point clear, that like it's not so much that Atlanta dominated and that the game shifted, because goals change games and game states change, and where you play the game also matters. I mean, so much of it was in the middle third. It wasn't like Atlanta was camped out and claiming imminent domain in the final third. It's a lot of middle third back and forth. Minnesota's able to muck it up. I'm still losing my mind as to why Atlanta didn't go over the top more often. I think Gonzalo Pineda mentioned post game that they had talked about doing that more. And then it just didn't happen. Don't know what that was about, because Minnesota plays a high line, but they also play a very it's a high line, but it's condensed. Like, they're going to muck through the midfield. They're not going to let you play through them unless you are, basically in a Super Saiyan mode. But you can go in behind, which is why I assume one of the reasons you started Edwin Mosquera in that game is because they're playing a higher line. You can go over the top. You can get in behind vertically. And you really didn't try that enough when the game was level. And then by the time you're starting to lean into the game and you're getting more of it because of the game state of it, Minnesota's going to sit a little bit deeper, and they're not going to give you as much room to be that good. So, yeah, it's frustration all around.
I want to, if I can, address some of the questions that have come up through the on the pitch.
Sure. Bart Keeler coming up in a couple of minutes.
All right. Well, who would I bench and why? Right. Well, my thing is, I'm going to be watching cleanliness of passing. If you were a team that's going to cycle the ball a lot, your success and failure will be determinant on your ability to pass, especially passing backwards. I know, Atlanta is a very direct town. We want to be very direct in our play, but United likes to cycle the ball. If you have a player, and I don't care who it is, and I think you have to make that determination, that if you are sloppy on back passes, you're finding your way to the bench. There's just no way around it, because you're putting your team into positions where during transitional play, Atlanta is so expansive. They get so wide that if there's an immediate fast transition moment, the gaps, the space will kill you. And I think that's what happens with Atlanta a lot, is that we find ourselves, doing these things where, like, we'll get all the way down to the opponent's 18, and then we backheel a ball to someone else who backheels to someone else, and we Arthur Smith our own offense here, right? Like, we're trying to do too much, too cute, the unexpected, instead of just rifle the ball at the damn net. Like, just go but since we insist upon cycling, if you do these crazy chippy back passes, we're going to tell you, stop that. Accurate passes on the floor. No, can't do it. Keep chipping. Okay, great. Then you're going to find your way to the bench, because you're putting us in hot water. And if it's my job and my paycheck, then, I'm sorry, I've got to make choices. I like you. You're a great player. You work hard. And whether it's Wiley or Almada might be the only one that I may not do that with, but I also may do it because I have to send a message to the team that no one's safe here. So we have to, whoever is making these kind of chronic mistakes on these back passes, if you have these mental shutdowns, we just got to get you out of there. And maybe the time off lets you kind of get that venom and that fury back. I don't know. Maybe it gets you refocused. But hitting the post is not on Gonzalo. Putting the ball wide is not on Gonzalo. However, if you have players who are making the same mistakes over and over and over again, then in the end, that is, in my opinion, on Gonzalo, because that's a manager's decision to remove that player for a period of time until on the training pitch they show that they have their problems sorted. When we talk about where teams feast, right? So somebody mentioned Jesse Marsh should be the next manager for Atlanta United. You guys know me. You know I am obsessed with the press. Pressing feasts on teams that go wide in transitional moments. So when the team goes wide, what happens is these pressing teams find those spaces, cause turnovers. They make an 80-20 ball into a 50-50 ball. And so then they nick the pass and they're going right back at you. And you don't have time to recompose a defensive shape, right? Because you're so wide. When you have these chippy passes, you're doing a pressing team's job for them. They don't even have to press the man. They don't have to put themselves in danger for receiving yellow cards because they're trying to get a ball loose. A chippy back pass, it's a free bouncing ball. Let me just outrun this dude to the ball, and now I can put one, maybe two passes, and the ball is on frame. And now Guzan has to, be a freaking circus performer to try to make a stop. At his age, that's not easy. So, to me, that's where a manager's job comes in, and saying this is where we have to clean things up, not just tactically, spacing wise. Where are we in certain situations? Don't do a freaking short corner in this situation. But this is how we clean things up from a passing perspective, so we do not cause our own turnover to essentially hand a goal over on a silver platter to a team, because this is where we keep getting ourselves in trouble with teams that play similar styles. And that's just my 2 cents on it.
Welcome to hour number 2 on a Reaction Monday, where we have had our share of reaction, and the real world has relented when it comes to Bart Keeler. Bart is back, at least until they tell him that he's got to have his meetings again at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. So Bart Keeler in the Fatal 4-Way this morning as we discuss stuff. That's the official term. Nick's back, Bart.
Hi, Nick. It's been great to hear your voice on this show. Glad that someone is on here that can keep John and Jared in check with all of their random references that some people understand.
I'm telling people to go watch The Duelist because it's a fantastic revenge film. It's a brilliant revenge film.
I love it.
Harvey Keitel is just being beautiful in that film. He's just a beautiful French aristocratic lieutenant.
I guess I'll have to go watch this.
Yeah, see, it's like that to me is like, I believe all the cinematic references to Nick and Jarrett, because me in movies, it's like, no, I couldn't tell you most of the movies.
I'm hesitant with movie references, because the last time someone recommended a movie to me blindly was when my wife recommended that I watch Life is Beautiful, and emotionally wrecked me for multiple years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Can't say I've seen that one.
There was zero prompting, Nick. I was not given any information before I watched it.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. Let's move on with the soccer talk, because this will take us down a dark road that we are not prepared emotionally to handle.
Wait, the soccer talk or Life is Beautiful? Because I think both of them are pretty dark right now.
Yeah.
Just in different ways.
So Bart, I know that we're going to have some reffing down here. I know that we will have plenty of that this week when it comes to stuff.
There were some MLS calls that, let's just say that some players were lucky they stayed on the field.
Yes. And
Miami cheating, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, how they find this money, Paul?
Yes, exactly.
Where'd this TAM come from, Paul?
I'm not even worried about the TAM so much as the not that it stopped Red Bulls from getting absolutely dragged to the mud. But
how they? I mean, clearly this money to pay off a referee to keep all 11 players on their field every single game. So, I don't know. We need to find that. Come on, Arthur. Pony up.
The most hilarious diving red card Mejoras Patatas tackle that was like a yellow.
A 2-footed jump into another player and a yellow card. Anyway, yes, John, we can get to roughing down here.
Well, I mean, we do have, and in the interest of equal time, I will go ahead and are you just going to have your zinger subliminal as you always do?
No, I think the subliminal zingers are about as effective as an Atlanta United back pass at this point in time. So we need to be a little bit more direct and forthcoming in our critiques of this team. And I think Nick did summarize it best, in my opinion. And it's just that at the end of the day, you play to win the game. And I don't care how many XG you give up or concede. I don't care what your expected goals differential is. When you have a 5-game winless streak, 2 of those games, by the way, are home losses, which, by the way, I have been told that winning an MLS on the road is the most impossible feat ever.
Not impossible, but 2 out of 7 on average.
It's not impossible. It's difficult, but it's made easier when
it's made easier by Atlanta United by giving up
you blow your own foot off.
Yes. And so what I actually saw, I forget who it was on either Reddit or Twitter, I don't remember. There were some deep dives in between running after 11-year-olds this weekend. But oh yeah, it was the tournament weekend, so all the academy tournaments are this weekend. So chasing after 11-year-olds while coaches are yelling at me that I'm anyway. Just because you're British doesn't mean you know soccer. That's all I'll say about that. But anyway, I saw it put perfectly, and it's just this is the encapsulation. Atlanta United has to work so hard, and have so much support from, I mean, damn near 8-9 guys on the field to get a goal. Yet other teams score against us very easily. And this may not, I'm sorry that this isn't a stats-based conversation, because at this point the vibes are off and we're going to talk about the vibes. But the feeling has been with this team and this is if we're 3.5 years into Gonzalo Pineda team. And what feels like the identity of a Pineda team is the ability to score goals is there. The consistency of goal scoring is not there. But the consistency of giving up dumb goals is persistent. And that is something that, to Nick's point, I understand that at the end of the day, players make decisions and they do or they don't score, or they make bad passes and whatnot. But somewhere from above those players, what is that accountability? Is it you're being benched? Is it you're being called out in, a film session? What is that? Because right now it does feel like Atlanta United is okay with, well, we just made a couple mistakes. But if you look at the XG, maybe we should have won. Well, you haven't won in 5 games. The only 3 teams you've beaten this year are trash teams at home. And you're no closer to being at the top of the conference than you have been when Gonzalo Pineda took over this team 3.5 years ago. And so I'm sorry to be critical of the man, but again, this is not, the man asking for patience after losing it at home for the second time in 2 straight home games. Patience when he's at, we're 10 games into his 3rd full season here. What patience do you want? Because unfortunately, the reality with Atlanta United is this club, unless they've been lying to us, John, and this is where I will give some, maybe the messages we've been fed are hollow, but we have been told this club wants to compete for trophies. We've been told this club, this is a Garth Lagerwey quote, that he wants to get home, he wants to be in that, hosting the home playoff series. That's his job. That's his goal. And from the get-go, this is a club that has ambitions to be one of, if not the best in MLS.
I'll say this right here, and that is, I'm trying to think of any time that a team has improved when removing a manager mid-season.
I am going to sit here right now and not say that I do not think the answer is get rid of Gonzalo Pineda right now. I don't think that makes any sense. Agreed. I think y'all have discussed it. Who the hell are you going to get to replace them? Right. But sorry to be Auburn fans a little bit, but this is a fire Gus year, Yeah. And the reality is, again, you want to be at the top. You're not close to the top. And we keep looking at this. And yes, you can talk about injuries, and there are injuries. You can talk about winning on the road is hard. But other teams in this league deal with injuries, go on the road and win. Again, I keep going back to the fact that we drew Chicago 0-0 the week after they lost at home 4-0 to RSL. Are you going to sit here and tell me that Real Salt Lake is a better collection of players than Atlanta United? And if that's true, then why do we not have better players? And that's just where this whole thing kind of gets to the spearhead with me is, are you lying to me or do you want to go win? Which one is it?
No, I don't. I think it's not a matter of it is the difference. But please keep Auburn out of this discussion.
Yeah,
we have too many like shell shocked Auburn fans, like 1920s World War I.
Yeah, I do apologize for bringing in Auburn fans into this. I do.
You don't want to make a Brian Harsin decision.
No.
But
exactly, and I think that's exactly where we're at. Do not make a Brian Harsin decision.
I'm going to assume that you are putting this on a tee, so let's do it. And if not, then I'll put this on the tee for you. We'll trade off whoever wants to get the softball bat and hit it off the tee. What we're getting into now is a discussion between the difference of collection of talent and team. Because I think Atlanta has one of the better collections of talent in this league. I think if you start breaking down the rosters and comparing them to other clubs, I think you will find that the collection of talent here can rival damn near anybody in this league and better than most. But something in this grandfather clock is not clicking, is not syncing. And you have to figure out what that is. And to Nick and I's discussion for this morning, if it comes down to we need to get this fixed, you ain't just like going to yeet a bunch of contracts out the window because you can't. The thing you can change is the manager. And if you don't turn it around, he will be the one who suffers the coup de grace, not the players.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing with the players is that if let's go ahead and we put ourselves in the general manager role a lot this morning. I want to put myself in Gonzalo's role for a minute and just say, okay, if I'm sitting down with Gonzalo, right, and I'm either Gonzalo or his agent, I'm having a very real conversation. Gonzalo, the likelihood of you being renewed by Atlanta United, barring some kind of crazy turnaround, is very slim. We need to start making sure that you are putting yourself in a good position to soften this landing, meaning that you need to showcase that you're not the problem here. So if I'm Gonzalo and I'm going out on game day, I'm saying, okay, I'm essentially freeing myself of the burden of being renewed. I'm just going to manage now. And that means that I need to be as cutthroat as possible, not change who I am as a person, because I'm a good person. I'm a good guy. I try to be. But if I have players that are not buying in, if I have players who are not playing for their teammates, they're finding the bench. I don't care what their contract says. And that one of two things is going to happen. One, it's going to wake people up to be like, oh, damn, if I want out of Atlanta, that being on the bench is not going to help me because I'm killing my transfer value. And two, if it falls apart, completely from a managerial perspective, you're not losing anything to begin with, right? So you're sort of Gonzalo needs to free himself from the burden of being, fighting for the renewal, fighting for, playoff spots, and just manage literally game to game. And if that means someone needs to ride the bench, they ride the bench. And that is where you need to start making small shifts to wake people up. Because if you're having chemistry issues, either the manager's tactics are difficult to interpret, comprehend, and implement, or you have people who are like, they're in their camps, for lack of a better term. I'm happy to play with this person, but not this person and this person. And you have to shift that up, because the time for player buy-in to your system is over at this point of Gonzalo's career here in Atlanta. Now it's mercenary role for everybody. You want to win, you want to get paid. Okay, you do this, or you find yourself like not even on the bench in a cave somewhere while I deal with you. But it's time to pull out all the stops, except for removing him mid-season, because Atlanta United has to protect themselves too. How many managers have you fired mid-season? How many times have you gone through this kind of carousel? you want to make sure you tell your next manager, look, we underperformed under Gonzalo Pineda. We still gave him his entire contract. You will have time to implement your system and be successful if you come here. So
and also, Nick, I think what we've gotten, you raise a great point, because I think one of the issues we've gotten ourselves into when firing managers midseason, and I'm going to shift a little bit of focus of the heat onto Carlos Bocanegra for this, but we have let managers go or told them to leave. And then we still went out there and signed big name players, big money players, without building a team to make the most out of what that incoming manager wants. And when you get into the idea of building a roster and turning over a roster, I think that's something to your point about firing midseason. If you fire the guy midseason and you're still making roster moves in the season, bringing players in, then you're making a lot of decisions for a manager who may or may not want those decisions made for them or those players made for them. Now, it's different than like cutting contracts at the end of the season, because those are club business, things. But
if you're adding players in
yes,
the philosophy that's currently there, and the manager that is there that has brought in this philosophy leaves,
yes,
then I see where you're going there. It's like you're basically telling whomever your next permanent manager is that this is the personnel that you will have. Will you have a system? Do you have a system? Do you have a mindset somewhere in your dossier that can fit this roster of players? Jared, go.
And so this is something I want to get, because Michael, you bring up the record for Pineda, and one of the things for me that makes it tricky to look at the entire body of work is that we know that you were cleaning up this roster when Gonzalo Pineda takes over in 21, was it?
August
of 21, he comes in. They were really good at the end of 21. I think they were more pragmatic, and they were just trying to get things figured out. You go into the playoffs and actually in pretty decent shape that year, lose to the eventual MLS Cup champions. You've spent the last, then you lose Darren Eales, you bring in Garth Lagerwey. You've spent the last year plus 2 years cleaning up contracts and cleaning up this roster. I think that's what creates, for me personally, the urgency now. You've cleaned up the roster. Are there still pieces you want to move around? Yeah, sure. I mean, you just unloaded Derek Etienne. You're still paying him some money, but you're still having to you got him off. You got him off the roster. You don't have to worry about him. That is what it is. It's a deal that it's still a weird deal, and it's one that I think we all expected to go well, and it didn't. It happens.
Yeah.
But Jared, I need to take a little bit of point to that, because I do think this is something. If we want to legitimately criticize Gonzalo Pineda and his system, Derek Etienne is a great player to start with, because wingers under Pineda have struggled to find their best selves. Mm-hmm. And I do think if you want to look at it, wingbacks have been great. Lennon, Wiley, great. But the wingers themselves have struggled to be the best versions of themselves under Gonzalo Pineda.
So what I think is that you spent the last 2 years fixing this roster, changing things, moving on, changing eras. I mean, Joseph Martinez is no longer with the organization. He was a guy we thought was going to be here till his mid to late 30s and might be mayor of Atlanta one day at the rate it was going.
He still could.
Dude, what forever will get me about Joseph Martinez, I ran the numbers a couple months ago. If he averaged 20 goals a season, he would be in line to break Wando's record this year or next year. He would be setting a record that no one's ever going to touch again. It would be he would be creating the 56 game hitting streak of American soccer records. No one would touch it.
But we can thank Nashville horticulture for that.
But no, I don't care.
No, Jared, only turf hurts. Or John, only turf hurts players. Only turf.
Nashville's grass has actually hurt more NFL players than it's hurt soccer players in the past.
No, that's wrong, Jared. Only turf is bad for players.
So my thing is, you've spent time fixing this roster, and I think that's what's created the urgency right now, because you've got the roster in a good spot, and you're not clicking. So now there is more urgency, and I think it's understandable that there's more urgency. This isn't this isn't me doing the, give more time, that kind of thing. Like, you've built what should be a roster that is competing at the top of the East, and it's not right now. So for me, that's where a lot of the urgency comes from, is that you've taken the time to clean it up, and to get the roster in better shape after everyone yelled about it for years, and you're in a better shape now. So it is a, you need to get results in a results-based business.
Well, if I can be, somebody's scratching. No, somebody's microphone's kind of popping or whatever. I
think it's a
Maybe.
wireless toward a microphone.
Yeah. So if I can be personal for one moment here, because I think our dear friend, the airborne DJ, asked if we were throwing in the towel on the season.
Oh, no.
No, I'm not willing to throw the towel in on the season at this point, but I will say that we need to start figuring out a way forward. And I'll use it because I don't like throwing other people under the bus necessarily. I'll throw myself under the bus here. I worked a corporate job where I was essentially handed a situation that was unwinnable. It was, I wasn't exactly the most popular person in the room, and there were some people in management who wanted me gone. And in the sales world, the best way to do that is hand them the most difficult patch of accounts you can, make it so their metrics are not repeatable. And then by attrition, they'll just weed their way out. When I looked at the situation, I saw that it was no win. And I kind of had this very depressed moment where I was like, oh God, I'm going to be out of here. This is going to be terrible. Oh my God, woe is me. And my performance got even worse. And then I had this kind of moment where I said, all right, if I'm out of here, I'm going to be as much of a pain in the ass as humanly possible on my way out to make these managers look stupid. That is my entire goal. My entire focus shifted. I will make these guys look like idiots. And for some reason, my mentality shifted and I became successful, because instead of being like, all right, well, I guess it's time to throw in the towel. It's not working. I don't know what else to do. I said, I'm going to make these guys look like idiots on the way out. And if I have to, burn everything around me to do it, I'm going to do it. And it was the only way I was able to be successful in that situation. So what Pineda needs to do here is something similar, where Pineda needs to say, all right, we've had like birthday party things on the field, this feel good buddy stuff, this good culture building that has not gotten us where we wanted to be. We tried to foster a great environment here. The wins have not come. This is a winning business, not a social media business. So now it's time for me to shift the mentality. And if I have to burn everything and everyone around here to the ground to get wins, we're going to do it, because I'm leaving this place. If they don't renew my contract, I'm going to make it so by the end of this thing, people are legitimately asking, well, Dan, maybe we should renew him. Good God. I'm going to make it hard for them. And if I have to put players that are fan favorites on the bench, if I have to, get folks who are not necessarily working to improve their chemistry with their player next to them, their ass is getting to the side. And I will find people that, whether I'm calling them up from the twos or the academy, I don't care. People who will come up here and they will bust their lungs to get that win. And part of it needs to be a rough look at your own tactics and say, okay, the next person who backheels inside the 18 is getting the bench. They're getting called out of the game immediately. 3 minutes into the game, I don't care. You backheel in the 18, you're out. I don't care. You have to get that brutal with it. You have to. And Emilio's question, if Pineda succeeds spectacularly, does he get the opportunity to remain?
Eastern Conference Finals.
Succeeding.
In Eastern Conference Final, or a trophy in Open Cup or Leagues Cup. That is the only way I see it happening. That is my personal opinion.
To me, it's not even Eastern Cup Final. To me, it is a trophy or go home. I don't care, and it has to be, because if Atlanta United wants to be in the winning business, and we want to and hold on, Michael Head, we'll get to that in a minute. If we want to win, and we need season ticket holders, and we want to keep our season tickets like renewing, it needs to be that. It needs to be trophy or go home. And on the way out, when this regular season ends, thank you, Gonzalo. We wish you the best. If you go and you kick our asses in the future, just know we love you. But it ain't happening here. But the social media team, it is not their job to read the room. It is their job to put out content that is pro team. That is their job. They are not journalists. They are not people who need to call it fair and even down the middle. They are paid lock, stock, and barrel to promote the team. It's no different than when Target had a massive cybersecurity breach, and like 2 days later, there was a commercial saying, "Come shop at Target." It's not read the room. It's sell our product, sell our service. That's their job, and I'm not going to fault them for that.
How are we feeling, guys?
Well, I think we have some time for a wrecking down here. I think, again, I just want to just go back to the fact that my personal stance on this club is, I was told from the beginning, the goal of this club is to win trophies. And we haven't been competing for trophies since 2019. And at some point, you either have to walk the walk, or you're going to lose confidence and trust. And we're teetering on that at this point in time.
All right. Time for some reffing down here. And there's plenty to discuss. And we'll start domestically, since the notions for Messi and friends seem to be y'all can do whatever y'all do at times, depending on the crew. I've got to go back and see who sent the man in the middle was for the match with Red Bulls and Messi and friends. But Bart, from an overarching standpoint, what did you see in Major League Soccer? Because hey, we were told that PSRA, the PSRA, they're the man. It's you're missing out with us not being there. But there are some moments where PSRA needs to kind of dial it back. Oh, I don't know, a lot from their initial assessments. Go for it from the weekend that was in Major League Soccer. What sticks in your mind?
Well, we did talk about it at the beginning of this, but yeah, the yellow card. I forget the player on Forsberg, that challenge. That is a red card challenge, and the fact that wasn't escalated to VAR and then from that point delivered as a red card is problematic, because those are the exact types of challenges we don't want to see in any way, shape, or form a part of this sport. Especially because the height of the challenge, I joke, but it was a Super Saiyan kick. It felt like, of just launching themselves.
The Avalos foul in the 57th.
Yeah, thank you, Avalos, on Forsberg. And that was bad. And then there was another one, I think, either last night or late night Saturday in the LA Galaxy game, where a guy is pulling an attacker back, then stomps on his foot and continues to stay on the foot for at least a full second before then stepping on him. And these are things where, when you have video review, when you have a video assistant referee, we need to be getting these correct, because I will say it's hard as a referee in the center when players are running around 1,000,000 miles an hour to fully judge was that just a harsh tackle, or was that excessive force and out of control play? But that's why we have VAR. And I do think that, even on the field, those should have been probably escalated to red cards.
Yeah, the
fact that it's in Miami as well just makes it so much worse, because then you get the black helicopters flying, and it doesn't have to be. I don't think it's like I certainly don't think it's we have to give Miami the benefit of the doubt with every whistle kind of thing, but it gives people ammunition because of the incompetence of a couple of people in that moment.
And Jared, I also think it doesn't help that it comes out this happened the weekend after the Di Maria to Miami reports are floating around.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not. The questions are, how is Miami able to do this? And you can only sign players for not a lot of money. Like these guys are still making lots of TAM. Like at the end of the day, like they're not coming in for $600,000. Like they're still making $1 million.
They're gonna have to like sell Julian Gressel somewhere at this rate to free up the TAM.
Yeah, because Julian Gressel's not a lot of TAM. Like that's the thing. It's like you could talk like Julian Gressel is a high TAM player, let alone all the other DPs that they supposedly have. So yeah, I'm with you, Jarrett. Where it's like it happened in Miami. It was a very clear, even in the moment, like, oh, well, that's a bad challenge. And we've seen red cards. I don't want to say for less, but like we've seen red cards that were much more quickly decided. That was just bad.
All right. So I am attempting to find anything resembling player salaries or what have you from, let's see, U.S. dollars. I don't want U.S. dollars. I want it by team. I don't want it by individual.
While you do that, can I filibuster a little bit with the room?
Yes, you can filibuster a little bit.
So Jarrett and Nick, we've had the referees, on-field referees, making announcements of the VAR decision. And there was a clip this weekend that the Orlando game against Cincinnati, where the referee, after the VAR review and the decision, says purple team instead of Orlando.
Yeah, it was our buddy Ismail Elfat.
It was Ismail Elfat. Thank you. It was. I think people wanted an NFL style announcement, and I personally think that what he said was perfectly fine. We have a foul. We have a red card. But I'm wondering where y'all stand as fans of those sports and other sports, of how you would prefer to see these announcements kind of relayed.
I was cool with Elfat doing purple team. It didn't bother me.
I think.
Well, I would call him purple team. But that's just...
I think Elfat was smart in saying the purple team, because if he says Orlando City, then if he says the specific team names, it's going to be activating, or triggering. I don't know. I hate the word triggering, but I think that's what it's like. We're just going to call it. It's the purple team on white on purple, and it feels very. To me, it's just like, all right, let's just call it that way, because we're not trying to make it feel personal. Because if I say Orlando City, then I say it with an inflection or a tone, people will say, oh, he's biased against us.
Yeah.
But if it's foul, purple team, free kick here, then it's emotionless, and it's harder to read intent. So I'm good with it.
Last year, for the record, we do not have an updated 2024 salary, but last year, G Brand had a base of $884,000, guaranteed compensation $930 and change. So that was what he made last season.
Robbery.
Last season, for the record, and this is MLS player salaries as of September 15th. We don't have the up-to-date player transferred in numbers. Jordi Alba.
We get those soon, right? We get those.
We should, in theory, but hey, why should we have this kind of information?
MLSPA usually does a good job of that, so hopefully soon.
Jordi Alba last year, base of $1 million. Let's see, Thomas Avalos at 360, Busquets at 1.5. This is base. This is not guaranteed. Base salary for Gregory was at 725. Campagna's at basically 550. Facundo Farias, who's on long-term injury, was at 500. Diego Gomez at 500. LGP, who is now off the books last year, was making $935 and $4. Coco Jean made $720 last year. Sergei Krivtsov, $555. Last season, Joseph made $4. Messi made $12. Let's see. I'm trying to see anybody else. Jean Mota, $750. You've got some folks that are in the $600,000. Stefanelli made $400,000 last year. Robert Taylor makes $276. Ulloa at $250. Yedlin was making $825 before he got booted out. But the numbers that we do have for players this year for the purple team, Messi's at 12. Busquets at 1.5, Alba's at 1, Kritsov is still 550, Campagna's at 550, Gomez at 500, Farias 500, but on long term injury reserve, basically LTIR equivalency. Avalos at 360, Calendar at 300, Taylor at 276, Negri at 225, Robbie Robinson at 200. Then you get into veteran minimums and things like that. We do not know Nicola Frere. We do not know Weigand. We do not know Suarez. We do not know G-Brand. And we do not know Federico Redondo. So those would be the ones that you would look at for dudes whose numbers we don't know, courtesy of our friends at Capology, that might be on the block. And Hutch is not wrong. All your allocation monies are belong to me. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to question, and I do think that like the overall narrative is, oh well, you know, players are willing to take a salary cut to one, play with Messi, and two, live in Miami, which fair. But you know, I do think that there's just legitimate questions.
What?
But yeah, I do want to say that back to the other point that I was talking about is Christina Uncle kind of stated that the protocol is to call the players or the teams by their color, and I think that's the way it should be done. For example, you know, when a ball goes out of play, I don't yell Atlanta. I would say black or red, whichever one I choose. You know, I don't say SSA. I say gold. You know, I don't say GSA. I would say red. So I think that is just in alignment with the neutrality that referees are supposed to have, and not seeing not seeing teams as, you know, the club that they necessarily are, but just the colors they play on the field. So.
Yeah. So I have zero qualm about just colors in general. One moment that started with an action on Saturday and evolved into a similar act on Sunday. Manchester City and Wolves, fouled by Ait Nouri going up the middle and being late on Josko Vardiol. And we basically had the same thing happen in an MLS match. I want to say it was one of the two that was yesterday, as a matter of fact. But basically, Man City awarded a penalty in the 10th minute because Ryan Ait Nouri was late on a challenge to Josko Vardiol, and he was late, and he ends up with a massive kick up the middle. You know, that'd be great if you were Jake Bates of the Michigan Panthers in the UFL, hitting 5 for 5 and 1 from 60. But being late on a challenge does not absolve you. Like if you're there, but you miss the ball and you're still a little late on the challenge, it does not absolve you from any kind of repercussion. True?
Yeah, true. Completely true.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can't, if you're late, you didn't time it correctly. You were careless.
Well, look, I am one, always pro defender, and two, I'm I'm the Slytherin of dark arts when it comes to soccer and fouling and whatnot. But if you have to do a physical challenge, something's gone wrong already, meaning that you're either from a timing perspective, you know, somebody messed up their coverage and now you have to rush to meet them. And if I am in a position where I'm challenging late, I have accepted the fact that I'm probably going to get called for a foul. And as long as they're not scoring, it's fine. If I get red carded, it's unfortunate. It's terrible, but hey, they didn't score. So it's the petty in us, right? But if you do a challenge, something has gone wrong already, and you're probably just going to compound it going to the ground. So you're probably accepting some level of fouls coming your way in the end.
Yeah. Look, late challenges. To your point, Nick. I mean, once you've accepted to making a challenge like that, whether you time it right, great, but you're taking that risk, and sometimes the risk is you foul a player and you give up a penalty, unfortunately.
All right. So when is a high boot a high boot? Let me ask.
Oh, good. I hate this. Oh my God, John. Okay.
Well, it's different. Are they high booting Nick or are they high booting me? Because one is more impressive than the other.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. Legitimately, I hate to say it. There's that. This is my last question that I'll try to answer before I get out of here.
Okay.
So basically, John, there is no high boot, high kick. That is not in the laws of the game. It's nowhere in the laws of the game. That falls under the one of two fouls. One, kicking, or two, playing in a dangerous manner. So basically, to answer your question, when you create a dangerous situation with your foot being high in the air, for example, we all know that a bicycle kick is, if you want to use the definition that everyone who doesn't know what they're talking about, it's high kick, right? Like literally the definition of a high kick is it would be a bicycle kick. You put your foot higher than your head and hopefully everyone else's. But as long as you're not doing that to create a dangerous situation for other players, you're fine. So to answer your question, it's, when you have created a dangerous situation. Now, raising your leg off the ground, I would say above your waist height, is going to put you in a situation where you're more likely to kick your opponent or create a dangerous situation with your foot being that high off the ground. And so, yeah, that's my answer.
Joe Gomez v. Brennan Johnson, Liverpool and Spurs. Basically, Gomez is jumping up into the air, trying to keep Brennan Johnson from heading the ball into the net.
Yeah.
And Gomez, basically, it almost is simultaneous contact, it looks like, where Gomez is coming north, Johnson is coming in for the header. It's like Gomez's foot and Johnson's head meet the ball at the same time. Contact is made by Gomez on both. Johnson crashes into the post. No penalty is called. That's why I wanted to bring that one up with the explanation. Yep. When's a high boot a high boot?
I don't know about that particular instance, but I think it just, again, if they don't think a dangerous situation was created, then and sometimes in those situations where everyone's just going after the play, well, everyone's involved in a dangerous situation.
Well, for me, it's whenever I do a challenge or even when I slide, I make it a point to keep my foot below the height of the ball, because I feel like a ref, especially at
That's fair.
If my foot goes above the ball, whether it's intentional or not, I feel like the ref's immediately going to call it. So if I keep my foot low, I can at least have some level of plausible deniability that I was going for the ball. And it looks like I was clearly going for the ball. If your foot goes above that, God be with you.
I think that's a great guideline for players. I agree. I do have to go to work, so I apologize.
Bart, you get to hang out with us for 40 minutes on a Monday. It was new.
Appreciate y'all.
And glad you're back. Thanks again, my friend.
I'm glad to be back. Thanks, everyone. Be good today.
There we go.
Good, Bart.
That's Bart. And so at Soccer for USPOD, and the last episode that they posted was late last week, and they got to discuss Twyla Kilgore and her administration and not having Serginho Dest for the foreseeable future and what that could create for the United States and who they could have in those positions. And probably it's, a Joe Scally discussion first and foremost because of versatility instead of an individual that plays on the right-hand side for Atlanta United on a match-by-match basis.
Hold up. Alex, somebody put a pair of size 12 on you. Who do we need to go fight, man? Alex, come talk to me, man. Come talk to me. Who do we need to go?
Well, yeah, that's an
phone calls.
That popped in the. I think that popped into our the Sheffield Saturday WhatsApp too. It was like, hey, good job everybody today. Also, Alex got raked across the face with a boot.
All right. Yeah.
Who we chasing, basically?
Look. There are people. Look. All I'm saying is, there's some community organizers who are ready to come to Alex's defense. That's all I'm saying.
Always, absolutely. But no, and Abby, that's why we refer to them as Messi and Friends, because of the geographic element that is incorrect when it comes to. Well, but maybe Fort Lauderdale is inter Miami. I don't know. It's probably more intra Miami than inter Miami. But no, that's why we always refer to them as Messi and Friends, because they play in Fort Lauderdale on the old Lockhart Stadium grounds, and they are not Miami. They're not Miami until they move into the new barn, just in time for the 26 World Cup. So that's why we always refer to them as Messi and Friends around here.
And I'm going to make one statement regarding Alex's incident here. The league that he's talking about is largely people north of 35.
Mm-hmm.
If you are someone who is going that hard in a 35-year-old and north, league, go seek therapy immediately because no one's scouting you. The U.S. national team, the Italian national team, the Colombian national team, Mexican national team, nobody's scouting you.
Venezuela.
The only people who are scouting you are the people at like the local buffet who are trying to figure out how much you're going to put down when the game's over. That's the only people who are scouting you at these games. If you go that hard in an adult co-ed league, you need to go get, I mean, you're essentially telling me that you have the IQ of a lobotomized gerbil to begin with. And then the second thing is that you probably need to start drinking Drano recreationally because that's kind of the same ballpark you're playing in. It drives me nuts when you have people going like, I'm passionate for the game. I just can't control it. No, you're a freaking idiot. That's all it is. You're not passionate. You're an idiot. If you're going that hard in a 35 and especially to someone like Alex, who is probably one of the kindest individuals I think I've ever met.
All of the earth, man.
I mean, and you're going to somebody Alex's size, and that's my size as well, going with cleats to the face. I mean, okay, careless.
Here's the thing: like I've bodied up against Alex. I've defended against Alex before. He and I bodied up, and I can defend Alex as and Nick, you've seen me play like in my large, clumsy, slow self, and can do this without hurting Alex.
I'm just saying,
it's possible.
There are times that I will look horrible because I make a decision. I could do a lunging challenge here and I could definitely get the ball, but I could hurt this person who's going to be doing Excel spreadsheets tomorrow. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I'm like, yeah, have the goal because it's a 35 and up co-ed league, man.
I mean, come on, man.
Just make the choice. Like, don't you have any pride? Yeah, I do have pride. I have pride that I'm going home uninjured.
Yeah.
I'm here for cardiovascular workout with friends. That's it. Yeah, David, I know. You're right. You're right.
But every league has that guy. That guy.
It is. And David's right. It's the parent who's coaching their kid to slide tackle third graders. You just gotta know you're gonna play the game all out. Look, you're not Jordan. You're not Jordan. Who's going to have a documentary told about you 5 years from now, where it's like, if you don't want to play the game that way, then don't play the game that way.
It'll be an ID episode.
Right.
You sit there and go, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, they're not doing the last dance over your co-ed adult league career. I mean, come on, man.
They're not, but it matters. It's all about me.
I played in an over 40 league, and I'm telling you, man, those cats, it was all men's over 40 league, and actually, sorry, it was over 30 league, and these dudes were, I mean, absolute psychos. And this for what? Atlanta United's not calling you in. They're not going to make a movie about you being like a 35-year-old who got called up to play MLS. They're not doing a documentary on you. No one's going to come give you a shoe deal. The only person who is going to be cool with your level of passion is going to be you when you go home and look in the mirror and tell yourself whatever lie you tell yourself.
I was awesome today.
Yeah. I'm 2 weeks of working out from getting my 6-pack back. No, you're not. You ditch the 12-pack of beer a night. Ditch the McDonald's and Burger King, and then go hit the gym for about the next 6 years. You might get them back. You're not getting your youth back. You're not getting your hair back. The girl of your dreams is not coming back to see you. No one's coming to watch you play outside of maybe your friends and family, if you're lucky. Get over it and just enjoy spending time with your friends.
That's why I'm hanging and banging and clanging every day at the gym for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's the people who are on the freaking male testosterone GNC supplement commercials. And that's who we're talking about here.
And they've got the fluty hairstyle.
Swear to God, man, it's crazy. I can't believe someone did that to you, Alex. I completely derailed me when somebody said that they did this to Alex.
I mean, come on, man. Why? I mean, it's
Fearless challenge.
You see, you're fully back, Nick, because Michael Valverde loves it when you go surly.
Man, all I'm saying is it just drives me nuts because at the end of the day, like there have been times that there's one thing I hate is I hate when I feel like I let people down. Like
Absolutely.
I hate this.
Absolutely.
And if you've seen me play in this league, you've probably seen when I have been so irate with myself because I feel like I let other people down. There's nobody harder on me than me, I promise you. But at the same time, there have been multiple opportunities where it's like I can dive at full force at this person's feet and get the ball, but I might take out their ACLs in the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to let them get a shot on goal because I'm not taking their kneecaps out. I'm not dislocating my shoulder.
Mm-mm.
Have your moment of glory. And, we'll all clap and
rock and roll. Go for it.
I don't know, man. Good.
So it's something that I had to learn. Because when I was in my early 20s, I had quit playing baseball and I started playing Ultimate, just to like run around. But I was quicker and faster and like could jump better because my knees hadn't fully deteriorated yet. I had a number of collisions playing that where I thought I could stop faster than I could, or I thought I could clear somebody and I couldn't. So I had a number of collisions like that where I had to learn how to control my body and to control my physicality. And I mean, 35 now, it's easier where I can just go out there and go 50% speed on a mini pitch and kick it up to 75 over 10 feet if I have to. But it is something I think you have to learn is how to control yourself physically, because I struggled with I can go back and visualize the mistakes I made where I ran into people playing Ultimate and I felt awful about it. Then I still feel awful about it now. It's something you have to figure out about yourself, about how hard can I go? How fast can I go? How much do I need to slow down? That sort of thing. It's tricky. And it's, Alex, I was never really fast even before I did a good old fashioned knee dislocation. Yeah. I was never really fast to begin with. I was faster than I am now, and I was quicker.
Yeah, you were quicker. Yeah.
I was certainly quicker. But yeah, because most of my thing was like, I played baseball. Like baseball, you don't have to slow down quickly. You can slide
and you
to
can
stop moving quickly. Well, I was a catcher. I was the one getting run over a lot of times.
And you remembered,
but you can run through a base. You can run through a base. You can slide into a base to stop your momentum. I never had to worry about slowing myself down physically until I started playing other sports and realized, I can't just run full bore and then have, 50 plus feet of runway. It's kind of like landing a jet on an aircraft carrier where you got to catch the hook.
You got to have the catch fence and the hook. Whoops.
We lost Jarrett.
Okay, so here he comes. You hit a button.
Yeah. So I had to learn how to physically control myself and to slow down and to be more careful. And now I think I scared somebody on our pickup league when Nick and Alex weren't there because there was a ball bouncing high and I put my knee up.
Oh no.
And they just moved out of the way and I was they were 5 feet away from me. I wasn't going to put my foot up into their face to bring it down. I pulled my knee up mostly because I didn't want them to run into me. And it was that instinctive reaction to please don't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly survival.
I mean, part of it is being a short person is that, when we play against taller people, we understand that you guys move and you raise your knee and that's, not your fault that, it's essentially the size of our face and, we've got to figure out a way around it. That's
your knee is the size of my face.
Right. And people at Jarrett's size shouldn't have to, act like they're playing against toddlers, even though
but it is our responsibility to be responsible though, if that makes sense.
I get it, but it's like a little bit of I get it, man. You got to feel alive.
Situational awareness.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing, John. Is it for the people who play sports as we get older? You at some point still want to feel alive. You have a job that's probably eating your soul away every day at work. You work, you deal with people you don't like to make money, to buy things that you don't want to have, or you don't want to spend the money on. So you need the release. And so you play sports, and there's that little inner bit of you that wants to show that, man, I'm still alive. I still got it. And instead you end up looking like a potato because you don't have that same kind of control that, the 20-year-olds are out there doing cartwheels and backflips and making you look like a walking cinder block. But, at the same time, like, you've got to figure out a way to still have fun and enjoy and sort of reframe where you are in life to say, you know what, I'm out here playing soccer with my friends because it's fun. Win or lose, we have a good time. And that's why there's not another team that I would play for in that league. I don't really get out there that much anymore because my schedule is pretty nuts, but there's not another team I would play for, because the team that I do play with when I do go out is like, yeah, we don't really care what the result is. We're just having fun. We laugh, we cut up, we get our exercise in.
We give up 10 goals. It's fine.
Yeah,
no one cares.
Good,
At the end of the day, I go on my contract. I don't have a contract that's not going to be renewed.
Right. And I'm going to get, and it's not about pride, because when you have a 7-year-old daughter at home, there's no such thing as pride. That's out the window.
Speaking gospel now.
And
get the tent out. We got a revival coming, boys.
Yeah. Like, hey, look, I know what I'm going into when I go home. Daddy, where's your hair? Daddy, this grilled cheese doesn't taste right. Look, it's like nonstop across the board. There's no pride when you get home. There's that little moment when you look in the mirror and say, you know what? I did the best I could today. That's it. And that's the lot you have going forward. All right. That's all I'm saying, man. That's it. Just reframe the mindset. Good God.
Yeah.
Competitive ass people out there. Just enjoy things, man.
Yeah. We need to say hi to folks. It's a time where since we haven't said hi to people yet, because we've been off and running since minute number 1 this morning. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Will. Morning, KFC. Morning, David. Morning, Abby. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. I know that Michael Valverde. Morning, Emilio. Let's see. Morning, Hutch. Morning, Rich. Rich, this entire time when the show started, eating popcorn, waiting for fireworks. Absolutely. Morning, Dell. Let's see. I'm trying to see who I might have missed here. Morning, that Grant. I think it's been the first time in a long time, or the first time ever, that Grant is here. Morning, Pars. Morning, Hutch. I'm trying to see who else might be in the listing. Like I said, I know that Michael Valverde and Michael Head are here this morning, so a high and hearty salute to them on a Reaction Monday. Morning, Tom. Let's see. I think that's everybody, but no, I think that it's been a great participation this morning across the board. I think that's everybody. Oh, morning, Wiley. Wiley started a part of the conversation at 10 till the end of hour number 1. So and four card. Let's see. And morning, Alan Wedderburn is in for watching on the YouTubes. And so good morning to Alan for dropping by. Morning, Derek. And yeah, I feel like I need like the what is it, like the pinwheel going in front of my face as I'm saying good morning to everybody. I think that was what it was on the News Review, where you sit there and you have the pinwheel going and you sit there and you say hi to everybody. But no, it has been the anticipated spirited morning. Shula Sean is also new this morning. So good morning to Shula Sean as well. But no, it's been the show that I anticipated it was going to be this morning. Morning, Uncle. So Uncle's in this morning. So it's been all over the place this morning. But greetings to everybody who made it in this morning. So complete and total from one end to the other. And the 6 minutes to go in the show, and I finally get to say hi to everybody because of what the show was this morning. But it was anticipated. all over the place. We do have some news. We do have some bits and pieces of stuff. It looks like Julian Lopetegui has agreed to be the new head coach at West Ham. They've got a verbal agreement in place, according to Ben Jacobs.
Excellent.
And so that is it for David Moyes. Also, this morning, it's almost like we need our own segment of 777 partners down here because of everything that has been going on with Everton. This morning, and I'll go backwards. Philippe Auclair and our friends at Yosemar Football, and if you are into investigative work, our friends at Yosemar do amazing work. And this morning, multiple sources in Belgium telling Yosemar that 777 Partners, two main creditors, former owner Bruno Venanzi and shareholders of Standard Liège's stadium, have now instructed their lawyers to seek seizure of the U.S. group's assets in the country of Belgium. Venanzi and the shareholders of the Immobilier du Standard were due on 15 and 20 April the second tranche of payments owed by 777 for the acquisition of their shares. 777 are basically threatened with repossession and will have to act very quickly to avoid escalation. The complaints were, in fact, filed today. So 777 is in a third country of being under serious, fourth technically, with Utah, Bermuda, England, and now Belgium chasing after 777 partners. And our friends at the Telegraph had not one, but two stories out on the weekend about 777, and Ropes and Tom can cover their ears on all this stuff because it is that bad. 777 partners have been named in 16 unpaid debt lawsuits, portraying the club as the last shiny object of Josh Wander's fraudulent scheme, in quotation marks. Tom Morgan and Ben Rumsby, and what is it we always say about multiple reporters on a byline? That's not good if you are the person that they're writing about. 777 partners named in 16 lawsuits over claims of unpaid debts of £100 million, according to the latest case against them and affiliates. A list of unrelated claims are outlined in New York court papers alleging that they fraudulently borrowed against £280 million of assets during we mentioned the budget airline. Then the latest lawsuit by London asset manager Leadenhall Capital, filed in New York, seeking damages after accusing 777 and co-founder Josh Wander of pledging more than $350 million in assets that, quote, either did not exist, were not actually owned by Wander's entities, or had already been pledged to another lender, end quote. Everton are described in the new lawsuit as the latest shiny object of Wander's fraudulent scheme. 82 pages. Leadenhall claims 777 partners and its affiliates have been named in no less than 16 lawsuits, generally concerning unpaid debts collectively demanding more than $130 million. Of course, 777 declined to comment. The companies previously told the Telegraph some cases against the group had been resolved. So if 16 are still in play, how many have been resolved? The new claim alleges 777 pledged, in quotations, as collateral more than the 315 assets they didn't control or did not exist. And Leadenhall refers to 777 as a house of cards on the brink of collapse. Quoting the claim, to induce Leadenhall to fund their operation, Wander, along with his group of alter ego entities, pledged over $350 million in assets as collateral, knowing all along the assets either did not exist, were not actually owned by Wander, or had been pledged to other lenders. Wander has already admitted to rampant and fundamental breaches of the parties' agreements. The only question now is whether Leadenhall will be able to recover millions of dollars in damages from a house of cards on the brink of collapse. Claiming those accused had been running, quote, an illegal and unsecured personal piggy bank that an individual like Wander could use to finance risky private equity investments in aviation, media, and sports, including professional football teams. Everton is that latest shiny object. Let's see. Wander's strategy has been continued expansion, using debt to acquire new assets that he can use then as collateral for more debt, which he then fails to timely pay off, in a seemingly never-ending cycle of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Upon information and belief, 777 are operating a giant show game at its best and an outright Ponzi scheme at its worst that takes money in from investors and lenders and shuffles it around to various money-losing alter egos in the enterprise to disguise their true financial condition. Yay. Good work. Good work by you. You know, and I was going to talk about Holland and Roy Keane going back and forth and all that kind of stuff, but decided against it. And apparently 777 over the weekend also dumped shares in another troubled company. They've relieved themselves of holdings in Canadian airline Flair. After the
Venture cap, baby. Venture cap.
After last week, we discussed the Australian budget airline Bonza entering voluntary administration because the 4 planes that were being leased by 777 were repossessed on the tarmac. So it's Bonza, Flair, and a lawsuit from Leadenhall Capital. But sure, we'll go ahead and go ahead and apply for status and make sure that we want to buy Everton. Sure.
Hey, look, it's a confidence game.
Oh, absolutely it is.
It's a game of chicken where it's, we're going all in. Dude, you have no money. Right, but I'm going all in. Dude, you have no money. At some point, somebody's got to. This is why I miss old Vegas sometimes, because you had those goons in the back who would just kind of come out, club you upside the head, and just drag you out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need that at the gambling table of life. They need the goons to come out from the back in like the old Showtime at the Apollo and just yank them off the stage.
Yep. Referee for Monday's Premier League match, and Dell, thank you for reminding me about this. The ref for the Premier League match between Crystal Palace, Manchester United today will wear a camera on his head for a program broadcast later this year offering an insight into the demands of being a match official. Ref Cam is going to be worn by Jared Gillette, integrated into the referee's usual communication system. It's a one-off. Footage won't be broadcast live, but it will be interesting to see what the end result of that is when all of that stuff is put up there. And so there's that. What to watch, where to watch it. A reminder, Soccer's in Session Live. One more week of Soccer's in Session Live, Monday through Friday, this week, noon Eastern. It looks like we're going to be catching up with the head coach at Social Circle, Heather Richardson, at 12:45, and we're trying to get other guests because the soccer championships all week long, NFHS Network, and a lot of the SDHers are going to be a part of it. Maddie, Jarrett, Jason, Jess, Luke Winstel's going to be a part of it. Justin Hanover is going to be working with Jason. Mateen the Dream is going to be, I think, part of the broadcast as well. And so that's at noon Eastern all week long here on the network. What to watch, where to watch it. It is Bein and Espanyol have Ligue 1 at 3 o'clock. Super League from Turkey at 1 o'clock, Konyaspor and Fenerbahce. If you don't have Bein, you don't have TSA, you don't have For the Fans, Nuestra Tele, Gold TV, Liga 1 Max, you can get it at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show, helps out the network, and you can become a true degenerate just like the rest of us. Serie A at noon, Salernitana and Atalanta. That's on CBS Sports Network. Crystal Palace, Manchester United is at 3 on USA. Being an Espanyol with your simulcast. ESPN Plus was supposed to have Crawley Town and the other club that that decided to leave the town of Wimbledon and move 30 miles outside of town and still want to have the name and try to encourage Wimbledon fans to come and be a fan of the new club. And Wimbledon basically said, screw you and the horse. They're in the playoffs. They were supposed to have League One's first leg between Crawley Town and this club at 10 o'clock. It's underwater. Crawley Town's pitch is underwater. They're playing it tomorrow instead. And so there'll be a day off with their setup. Doncaster Rovers and Crew is at 12:30. Fox Soccer Plus, Women's Italian Serie A, Fiorentina and Juve at noon, the league that we neither condone nor endorse nor promote. from the Middle East is on at 2 o'clock. Doubleheader Serie A, Paramount Plus, Salernitana, Atalanta is at noon. Udinese and Napoli is at 2:45. Nick, what is going on in Serie A that we need to know about, and or Serie B?
I have no idea.
Good for you. Excellent work.
At least I'm honest.
Yes.
I could BS you a great answer, but I'm not going to do it. You deserve a better classic criminal.
Yeah. Yes, Tom, we led with the Tyler Wolff injury. And 4 to 6 weeks, obviously, recovery is going to determine if it's closer to 4, closer to 6, or longer than both. And as Jarrett said, it could be Luke Brennan's season now with the Tyler Wolff injury.
It's almost going to have to be because Shande's not 100%. Mosqueda's not really a guy who can start games. Again, I understand why you did it this week, but then you also didn't execute the way you needed to in those moments where you can run him over the top. Brennan is faster, more clever with the ball at his feet. It sucks for Tyler. You've been waiting for him to try and tap into that finishing ability that he had showed at the end of last year, and it hasn't happened yet. And now, hopefully, this gives him a chance to clear his head and just be that guy that he has been. In that, I think he is a great guy to come off the bench and chase goals.
Do we have an ETA?
Fine life.
Do we have an ETA on Shande?
I think he was questionable this week.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the status is. So again, tomorrow night you have Open Cup. I expect them to rotate heavily because it's Open Cup.
Yes.
And you have a lower division team. It's just what teams do, even though it's not my favorite thing. And personally, I think you should be chasing Open Cup because it's the quickest path to a trophy this year.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be Luke tomorrow. If you like put piranhas to my toes and told me I had to pick, or my toes are going in the water, I would guess like Luke and Centeno.
Yeah.
Eric Centeno, who's on a first team deal but playing with the twos. I would guess those two on the wing. I feel like it would have been a good chance for Tyler Wolff if he was healthy to get out there and get something to build. I feel like it would have been easy to get him some confidence building minutes, but that's not happening. So I would imagine it would be Luke tomorrow. That would be my guess.
All right. Nick, it's great to have you back, my friend. It's been too long.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Been on the road, so theoretically I should be around. We'll see. I'm sort of a freelance hired gun at this point. So have video will travel.
Have Nick will travel.
That's right. But one thing I will say about Serie A, and this is one very, very short thing, and that is watch Milan's hiring process. That Pioli's probably out at the end of the year. So that hire that they have coming up next will have a massive knock-on effect globally, because whoever doesn't get the Milan job will be in play. Some shocking names. So just keep that just keep that in the back burner, just keep an eye on it if you could. Thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate that.
Yes. And so since it is the end of the show, Nick, since it's your first time back, your work isn't done. Send us home.
Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for welcoming me back, and mucha Euro y'all.
What he said, back at noon, Soccer's in Session Live.